For Copenhagen Wolves, we have Evelyn and Volibear taken away.
Okay, so actually pretty quick ban, so both teams here knowing exactly what they wanted to take out of there. But not surprised to see Evelyn, not surprised to see Fizz, not surprised to see Kassadin, and maybe a little bit surprised to see Vlad, although we did see Young Buck on that not very long ago now, pulling out a very, very good performance against Renekton. But the Volibear is probably the most interesting ban here. Not one you tend to see a lot of, but I happen to think he is actually very, very strong in the right compositions.
Well, we did see Airwax play him yesterday, actually against TCM, and he did a very good job. He ganked bottom 17, 19, I don't even know the number of times.
The general Melchett strategy.
Yeah, and he was able to get kills, I think, 3 out of the times that he went down there, and maybe that's why they kind of banned that out. Don't necessarily want to go up against that, but we do see the final bans coming in with the Vladimir, with the Elise, and we already see Shyvana left open and picked. However, Renekton is still available right now.
Okay, well, the thing is, right, I think we may have actually had this exact situation before, maybe not these precise teams, but Shyvana is generally considered to be a counter to Renekton in lane. Not a massive counter, a very soft kind of a counter, but a counter nonetheless, a counter made of cheese.
A caressing counter.
A counter made out of kittens. I don't... But it is a counter. That does mean you can sell things over it. That does mean Shyvana will, in general, assuming equally skilled players, come out a little bit ahead. However, Young Buck is the king of Renekton. He knows that matchup so well. And I think, actually, we may have even seen that exact matchup in IEM Cologne going the way of Gambit, I believe. They actually had that situation. So you can definitely win that lane as Renekton, even if it is favored against you. Now, yes, that does mean that now Copenhagen Wolves have gotten 2 major picks in their favor, but the question is, can STO grab exactly what they want from the 2 picks after? Annie and Gragas, very, very strong, but I actually don't think that's necessarily worth it considering what they have just let through to Copenhagen Wolves.
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious because we did see Spontex play Gragas yesterday. Did a fairly decent job at it. But he's also transitioned from the top lane when he was with Dragonborns and played the 1 game during the summer split with Gambit to mid lane, and that kind of worries me. Has he made a vast enough champion pool mid lane to kind of go with that? I mean, Gragas 2 times in a row. Obviously, we're going to see as the day goes on and tomorrow if he's able to pick anything else up. But the Annie, though, on top of that, does that kind of give you a leeway into what AD carry they're going to go with? Because we did just see, a Caitlyn Annie in the first game of the day, TCM vs Copenhagen Wolves, and a Lucian Zyra combo won that lane out.
It did indeed, and we now have the exact same picks going up against it. But the problem was, with Lucian already being taken out, they couldn't afford to let Lucian Annie happen, because that's even scarier. This way, it's still kind of their lane to lose. If it had been Lucian Annie, that's so much burst between the 2 of them, especially at level 6, it's almost impossible to avoid dying. And even if you're running something like Caitlyn Zyra yourself, it's a difficult lane to come out of alive. That obviously then hamstrung them, meant they had to pick the Annie, which is still a very strong champion, will still suit them very well. Hello. But has obviously opened them up to the counter.
Don't do it, Kuja.
It's possible. It could work very, very well.
I think Yorick has a 100% lose rate in the summer split of LCS when we did see him. Oh, he's actually being picked here. Okay, so we're going to have a Yorick. Yeah. What do you think?
Remember this game. Okay, so Yorick is basically saying, we want someone to dive into the middle of you, die, and then get back up again and dive into the middle of you again. Shyvana actually works very, very well for that, but that has to be, you have to make sure she's actually going to die if you want to use that particular strategy. Also gives you that option for the late game doubling on the AD carry. So it actually works, it can work for them, but that does mean they are now committed to the Shyvana jungle. And Yorick top versus Renekton, I have to say, I think that would go in the favor of Renekton. He can sustain off the ghouls, and he can build very, very tanky, very, very sustainy. Yorick's gimmick is that he is point and click, you out, or he doesn't. But in Renekton's case, I don't think he can.
Yeah, and with that Yorick coming in, do you think we're going to have potentially a lane swap come in with the AD carry support over for STO because you want to see Caitlyn get to that late game force she should be at?
Well, that could work for them, but the problem is if they do go for that, then STO actually have weaker 2v1. Okay, so I'm going to explain that logic because Yorick has much more sustain. There is absolutely no denying that. He will farm better, but if you put Renekton Vi together, that is a terrifying gank. Yorick with Shyvana, they don't have the lockdown. They can't lock down Lucian. They can't stop Zyra from just rooting and walking away. That means it's a very scary situation, and you're smiling very wryly.
Yorick jungle.
Wait, no.
I even hear Joe in the background just, no! But Yorick jungle. Can't say I would have called that at the beginning of the day, saying, you know what I feel like today's fight, I feel like we're going to see a jungle Yorick.
Yes, this is the... Okay, so next game, jungle Zillion, then...
I want to keep my eye on this, just to make sure it does get locked in all the way. Because I don't want to go too far into it until it actually is officially in there, which
been done.
It is.
It has been done, but jungle Yorick obviously will still have his ultimate, and in many ways, top lane Yorick is essentially ulti-bot late game, so it doesn't really change that aspect of him very much. But will he be able to exert map pressure? Will he be able to gank effectively? Yorick jungle will sustain, there's no doubt about that, but really?
It's a weird team name with a weird jungler. I will tell you that. But one thing I know that happened between 3.13 and 3.14 was the changes to the jungle, obviously. But what made it more viable for these different junglers to come in is that you can just sit the jungle and farm away, because you can get enough gold to have a lot of items as we get into that late game stage where you can be a really big threat. And still at the same time, it's kind of like you have a Shyvana top lane versus a Yorick. The thing is, Shyvana you kind of want to put in the top lane, to get the items done really quickly. But then again, a Yorick, like you said before, is he scary when he comes out of the jungle? Does he go roar and try to chase you down? Like, he can slow you, but his schools are really slow at early levels.
And will he even have a decent jungle clear? He has a lot of sustain. He'll get a lot of health back per unit damage dealt. But will he be actually able to clear in a reasonable amount of time? Because, yes, the ghouls are very, very difficult to deal with in a lane, but the jungle creeps they don't run on the same kind of dynamics of damage trading. They just have a massive mound of health, and you've got to grind through them really quite quickly if you want to actually get anywhere.
All right, well, besides that pick alone, what kind of composition do you see coming out of the Copenhagen Wolves? Are they stronger early? Are they stronger late? Do they want to force some team fights a little bit earlier on in the mid game? What's your thoughts?
Copenhagen Wolves are running something very similar to what we saw them run earlier, actually. They have a lot of map presence. They have quite a lot of burst in pretty much every situation as well. So what we'll expect to see is very much the same style we saw earlier. Roaming, map rotations, and just taking advantages and snowballing them. What they are up against... Ooh.
Kuja. Forgot something.
Oh. Awkward.
And then it's like, wait, gotta pause that one. Yeah, I couldn't buy it in the shop or something like that, but he did forget his warding trinket, or his trinket, whatever he wants to go with it. But we do see 2 sweepers actually picked up over on the Copenhagen Wolves side.
Interesting decision. That will give them the potential now to try and set up a few more ganks between Vi and in fact both of the top and the bottom lane. They have a lot of gank potential. Having those sweepers does give them that option to get some extra kills. And if Zyra is able to find the one ward that Annie is bringing into this lane and sweep it away, that opens up a lot of options, a lot of avenues for Amazing to gank from. The unfortunate fact of the matter, though, is that if you don't find where the ward is, and Annie might well just be able to stun, walk out and ward somewhere you haven't seen, then you're just kind of left in a situation where you don't want to use it on random guesswork unless you can avoid it.
One thing that kind of came with 3.14 that changed from 3.13, which we saw towards the later stages of it, very, very deep warding. And I'm not talking about, ward up, here, that's deep. I'm talking about warding here and seeing who's going to that lane. And it's kind of like in 3.14 where you can't really afford to go for that, but if you do, you can have an advantage. You can finally get to the lanes you want to. And to me, from what we just saw earlier versus Copenhagen Wolves and TCM, is that the Caitlyn Annie lane does not fare well against Lucian and Zyra.
Yes, although having only seen it once, you can never really say for certain. But I have to agree, my instinct here is to say that Lucian Zyra probably has the edge, just based on the damage and the disengage. And Caitlyn doesn't work that brilliantly with Annie, just because she doesn't bring a lot of burst to the table herself. Now, there is actually another point to make, though, about the deep warding. The value of the wards really, really deep to see which lanes people are going to. Arguably, that ward becomes absolutely useless once the minions have passed, once the players have gone past. So the warding totems are actually ideal for that kind of purpose. And the cooldown is short enough you could do that if you were going for a relatively late invade.
Well, looks like we're not going to see invades coming out of this game, unfortunately, as we do have STO, Airwax setting up towards his own blue buff here. He started out with the Doran's Blade and a health pot, so he's looking, to me this says he's looking to be very aggressive. He's looking to make something happen early on, and just as I say, we're not potentially going to see an invade. Wolves are set up for a push on this blue side.
And I don't think they saw Unlimited there. They did just put down the Trinket Ward. Amazing is there. They could potentially go in on this. They've got no vision, but can they get this down?
They're looking for here. Forgiven could be the first man in. They don't have a word to spot them inside of that bush, but they pushed him away from it. They have the sweeping lens going down. They're going to be able to clear up the ward or something.
Click on it.
But they can't. I mean, actually, the smite goes in, and I believe Airwax actually did manage to take that one himself. He didn't get the smite of Amazing, but getting his own blue buff when you're a Yorick is definitely worth it any day.
The Cho'Gath protecting Teemo principle. He had such a big hitbox, the Golem that is, that they couldn't actually right-click on the ward before the sweeper ran out. So very unfortunate for them there, but STO clearly had a plan in mind here. They were ready for the 2-on-1 swap up. They weren't ready for the invade necessarily, but have come out of it okay. And now Yorick is actually going to be a little bit ahead of Amazing in the jungle, which will slow down those aggressive ganks, slow down the pressure on the bot lane, which will give Yuki and Kuja potentially the chance to go aggressive.
Now, we do have these 2v1 lanes coming in. What's your thoughts of this? Because we have the Caitlyn and Annie versus Youngbuck on Renekton, and we know how damn good he's on Renekton, versus right now Forgiven Unlimited versus Gob on Shyvana.
Well, they're very, very similar in that both Forgiven and Yuki will be able to poke a lot of damage down on their opponent laners when they're under tower. But there is a different aspect in that. Youngbuck is going to have a little bit more sustain and a little bit less wave clear. Shyvana will probably have a healthier tower, but be forced out of lane sooner and need more jungle ganks to keep her in that tower race. So we'll see if that happens, if they are able to get any particular amount of pressure called for in the end. But at the moment, it seems like it's just going to be a straight tower race. Airwax, though, is heading for... I don't know where he's heading. He's kind of going back and forth.
He's looking for that scary Yorick gank that we've all come to know and expect, except not really. But he's going to be making his way in here. He's not going to be spotted, and he will have Gob at level 3. So this can be a very deadly gank, though, if they can get the damage in. Airwax coming in, looking for a slow or something here. As Gob already down to half-life. I'm not sure if they can even commit to this now, but Forgiven taking some damage. They do the slow into me flashes. Will they commit forward here? Because they do have the slow on him. Ignite coming down on Airwax. He can lose his dome buffs. He does. Unlimited steals that away, and he might be able to chase down Gob here with that red buff slow. He has that flash available. He doesn't have Ignite, and Gob has no flash to get away. But he is just too damn fast, and in the end, a 1-for-1 trade here. But with Copenhagen Wolves coming out with the double buffs.
Yeah, that double buff on Zyra is going to make it a really difficult lane when Gob gets back in. He's just going to have to constantly dodge plants, constantly dodge the root, the damage, all of the rest of it. And in fact, Gob has gone back, so he's going to have to dodge it from now onwards, essentially. And Unlimited is actually going to get extra gold, and because of the ranged auto attack, be able to harass down the tower very efficiently indeed. That just really didn't go their way.
And taking a look at mid lane, we have seen counter on Ziggs just in the game earlier on, where he did damn well on that Ziggs. I will give him that one. And then we have Spontex over on the Gragas. You know, how does this lane kind of fare for you?
Well, since the range nerfs to Gragas, I feel like Kautodd is going to have an edge here. He will have a little bit higher damage. But when the time comes to level 6, Gragas roams faster thanks to his body slam, although Copenhagen Wolves are maybe not going to make the roaming phase really happen for Gragas because they're to start the lane rotation right now. But Gragas would potentially have the ability to set up ganks more effectively.
All right, well, we'll see if he's able to do that at all during this game. Just like you said, with that turret going down quickly, Copenhagen Wolves have not shown a sign of stopping just yet. With those double buffs, I would imagine they'd be able to hold on to this for quite a good time, but right now, STO able to clear out that wave very quickly. You do see Amazing kind of just leaving, going for some jungling himself, and let's take a look at the bottom lane for STO. They've got the turret very low, so in the end, they're kind of almost on par in terms of speed with Copenhagen Wolves' side.
Yes, they are, but there's this continued pressure in the top lane. Amazing actually hanging around, but even if they don't continue to push this inner tower on the top lane, Copenhagen Wolves now have the opportunity to rotate for mid lane. Ziggs will be able to push out that wave if they want to, but it actually looks like they are just going to opt to recall instead and just take this to being kind of a roughly equal footing.
From this, I'm wondering, will Dragon be a possibility on their end? Because they do have their AD carry support going back, buying up, and they already have Youngbuck down there. While in the meantime, Gob, he's He's stuck defending his own top turret right now, and so we'll find out very shortly if that's something they want to go for. But you've already said before in games prior that Dragon not really worked as much earlier on in the game, but obviously around that level 15, average level 15 mark, it's quite powerful.
Yeah, it becomes more relevant, or still, I think it still becomes proportionally less relevant as time goes on, based on the fact that Baron comes into the game and becomes the biggest factor, but obviously more relevant than it used to be, and it does indeed look like Copenhagen Wolves had that in mind when they went for that recall there. Having taken this Dragon, I expect they will go for that bottom tower. Zig's actually rotating down there, so they may well sacrifice their mid to get that push going. But either that or just return there, having just kind of, I don't. To be honest, I don't know why Kautar bothered showing up.
He's like, I'm Ziggs, I'm helping.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Bob.
But either way, Copenhagen Wolves going to be sending their AD carry support down towards this bottom lane here. I want to point out, do you see the Nomad's Medallion now done over in the hands of Unlimited, but just the Ancient Coin done for Kuja. So we're seeing both supports yet again go for that similar kind of item build, and obviously you can explain why. That speed increase is just, it's too good.
It's so powerful on almost any character you care to mention. Forgiven taking a lot of damage though.
Wow, Kuja getting the stun, setting up. Yuki actually going to be high caliber net into the middle of that fight, but not going to get him down just yet. But still, it applies the threat, and he's forced to back out now. And look at the CS difference that we have. Because of that early turret take, Forgiven's down 15 or 60 now to 38 CS.
Yes, indeed, but if you look at the gold, it's a little bit closer than that would suggest. Only about 100 gold between the two of them. It's still significant, do not get me wrong, but it is not going to be enough to make up for the fact that Copenhagen Wolves have been able to get a little bit more gold across the board. Now the question though is, can STO take advantage of that farm Caitlyn? Can they start to form up for sieging tower pushes? If they do, they're going to have to contend with Ziggs.
We can't forget about this man, Yorick. Jungle Yorick. I don't know, I mean, he hasn't been doing that bad so far. He's been farming it quite well. He's even in CS by Amazing. He did give double buffs away over to Unlimited. But his item build, a little bit different. Looks like he's going for a Phase here as his first item. Maybe into a Triforce?
Okay, so Trinity Force would make a lot of sense. He does have short cooldown abilities to proc the Sheen, does use most of the stats. But again, he is just kind of going to become an ulti-bot, and I'm not sure if Trinity Force is actually going to give him enough mana for him to be really comfortable. Although he will be able to take blue buffs if he wants to, but then you're denying it to Gragas, so it seems like he is going to have some problems. His damage at this stage of the game, though, is still going to be significant.
Right now, about 9.5 minutes in here, everyone hitting that level 6 point, and STO bottom lane, 24 CS advantage. You're seeing actually Copenhagen Wolves respond to that. They're sending Forgiven. Well, he was in the jungle a little bit here, just trying to get as much farm as possible. He's still actually level 5 right now, but he does have that Phage done compared to that BF sword that Yuki has.
Yeah, the Phage and the Vamp Scepter, but I feel like he's not going to be able to really contend in the straight-up 2-on-2. The level 6 difference and indeed the straight-up all-in potential from a BF sword Kate is too strong. Amazing. Thinking about that engage on Spontex, but instead is going to zone him out and now potentially look to form up to go for the mid tower if they want it.
Running up some damage here. We do have Youngbuck rotating down from that top side. I don't believe he was actually spotted by a ward here, so you might see a fight break out if the Macy wants to lead it with that ultimate across. But as you can see on the minimap, we have Yuki and Kuja already coming up from that bottom lane too, just to make sure there's no sneaky shenanigans going on here in middle. In the meantime, that does give Forgiven a lot of time to farm up here in this bottom lane, and he's trying to close down that gap that he's currently behind.
Yeah, indeed, threatening that all-in the mid lane, causing STO to commit more manpower to fend against it preemptively, and then just being like, actually, no, let's just go get Lucy farm. We need him to catch up, and we certainly need him to hit level 6 soon. So again, smart lane rotations is pretty much what Copenhagen Wolves do so well. At the moment, though, not miles ahead. They're probably, or at the moment, STO doing better than TCM.
Right, getting caught with the ultimate out of Amazing as well as the ultimate out of Ziggs. So he does pop the ultimate on himself, but that's not going to stop him from going down. Is Amazing going to flash out here? Spontex not in a position to ulti anyone back into his own team to make that ultimate out of Yorick useful. And in the end, they just pick up a free kill right there. And a free double buff, it looks like. Well, at least a red buff. Sorry.
Important question. Can you still laugh in Googly Ghost form if you have been revived by Yorick? Because I feel this could become relevant in situations like that where he's pretty much not able to do anything having just revived himself.
Hey, remember, Copenhagen Wolves, they're playing for their spot to be into the promotion. Like, if they win this game, they will be into it. If As long as my math isn't wrong on this one. I'm pretty sure it's not now, though.
Notwithstanding the possibility that we may have screwed up with
but it means that they'll be in. So this is a big game for them, and right now, they've been taking control. They have, a nice 1,400 gold lead. They have a kill lead. They're able to get the dragon a little bit earlier on. But right now, they're not playing stupid. Like, they're playing it very smart, very methodical so far, and they realize what's at stake.
Yeah, but it's actually worth noting, as I was just about to say, I think, before Yorick found a premature end, they, in fact, are probably less ahead now than they were earlier against TCM. So even if, for whatever reason, STO were to end up losing this game, there is always an argument to be made. This is an interesting precursor to future games. I mean, obviously, play styles may just match up poorly sometimes, but in general, the better teams will out in the end.
Speaking of that, look at what's happened in the mid lane so far. We have a giant CS lead building up for Cowtard. He's sitting on 3,000 gold to back with when he wants to finally go by, and it looks like he wants to make that happen right now, but Spontek's looking for him. Doesn't get him. He does escape that one, but he is going to return back to lane as a deadly force. We do miss a kill over towards the bottom side. Looks like Unlimited did get caught with that Tibbers and eventually blown up soon thereafter. But still, that is very scary. Realizing that Cowtard having that much money to go back with, he is going to be putting out so much pain. Even though he's pretty much equal in items, he still has a Sork Boots upgrade.
Yeah, and Gragas has no boots, not even boots of speed. He is not going to be anywhere near as mobile, and that 15 magic pen is also pretty significant. So definitely an advantage here for Copenhagen Wolves, and it looks like they're going to try and capitalize on that. You can see Youngbuck coming down, taking advantage of the fact he knows Shyvana isn't directly fighting him right now and is farming behind this tower. They're going to go for the dragon attempt again.
Not to mention knowing that Kuja doesn't have that ultimate available, doesn't have flash available either, since he committed flash and ignite in that last fight. Could be a free dragon for him unless Swanson can say something about it, and no. She doesn't use his ultimate, and Copenhagen Wolves picking up another dragon for themselves. But if anything, STO will be able to take away the red buff.
Yeah, he will be able to get the red buff, but I think most players wouldn't call that an equitable trade. However, can Gob actually get anything?
Keep it? Oh, we do see Cowtard and Amazing going for him here. We do see ultimate out of Gob. Actually gets caught in the middle of his team. Amazing gonna get dropped here, but we do have Youngbuck finally coming down from that top side Gob. Looks like he might be able to escape here, but Spontex looking for a kill on the Cowtard. Ignite does go down, but it's not gonna be enough to kill him, and now Youngbuck trying to chase him down. And STO will pick up a free kill for themselves, a free red buff too, and maybe even a turret off this as well.
Yeah, Amazing probably actually had a moment of, oh, I've just made a terrible mistake, because he was being dragged by his own ultimate into the Gragas barrel there. Most likely, once he saw where he was going, he was like, oh, wait, I'm going to die. Turned out, if that was what he thought, he was very, very correct. But loot buff is the fight.
And it looks like we will have Spontex pick that one up, just going to refresh his own. Unfortunately for Airlax, not able to get that himself. It looks like he didn't smite it at the right time to pick it up. Another pink ward going to be going down here momentarily for STO. And if anything, I was kind of hoping that Airlax was going to be able to pick that up. He does have that phase done. He does have a Ruby Crystal on that as well. But I feel like as a game, it's weird. Like as a Yorick to me, just based on him alone, no one else, no one being ulted by him, he kind of falls off as the game goes on because he loses that early game harass power from in the lane. But with Yuki getting this far ahead and staying this far ahead, it can be a very good sign for STO.
Yeah, right now there's only 1,000 gold between the two teams. Copenhagen Wolves looking to take this bot tower, and that will increase their lead a little bit if they are able to get it. But, as you say, Yorick's effectiveness is completely tied to his AD carry. And at the moment, that gambit is actually working out quite well for STO. They're staying in the game, and most of their gold is focused on Caitlyn.
Right now, we do have, I want to say, a little bit of a lull in the game currently. Both teams still playing very cautiously, very safe, as there's no real objectives to take, minus the bottom turret, which you've been pointing out, which might become a really likely possibility. But you can see just the danger that Copenhagen Wolves, or at least the respect they're showing over on STO's side by setting for giving them limited back every time, not wanting to overextend when they don't have that turret, and respecting the damage that Kuja can do.
Yeah, they do not want to 2v2, but they're going to go for the mid lane instead.
Cowtard, he got a nice little satchel charge up there, but will be enough to help him escape. We do have the red buff on Airwax, and they do get the slow and the body slam coming out of Spontex with the flash, able to pick that one up over the hands of Airwax, but Spontex goes down, and Unlimited coming up the side with an amazing Stranglethorn. Airwax chased down Amazing, he's going to actually drop down, and Unlimited might die on the turret, but in the end, it works out very well for Copenhagen Wolves side.
Yeah, well, actually...
Well, it was even. It was even. The Zyra passive, it always throws me off.
Yeah, and it delays the actual portrait death. But STO here, they're going to be taking advantages because, remember, Yuki was not in the fight. He's going to be here to siege the turret down. They've got Tibbers to tank it. They've got Youngbuck there from Copenhagen Wolves to try and defend it. But it's a little bit difficult to manage that for the long term. But the respawn timers are very short, so it looks like we will just be able to ward off STO here.
So a 2-for-2 trade coming in right there. But no turret being taken right off after that. And I wonder... like, what does that kind of show for both teams where it seems like STO, they committed so much for that. They had used so many flashes, they had used the Gragas ultimate to get Kautar out of position, and still, even at that point, they almost barely didn't kill Kautar. They almost barely didn't pull off a 2v2, or a 2-for-2.
It's always an individual kind of thing, but at the moment, so a lot of this is going to be tied into the question of who's actually going to have the better late game here, because Yorick throws everything out of whack quite severely compared to what you normally experience in these situations. Normally, we'd say a composition like Copenhagen Wolves would be very, very strong late game, but STO, with the Yorick doubling effect on either Shyvana or Caitlyn, who are incredibly strong late game champions, they could potentially have that late game situation. But right now, Caitlyn is in the doldrums period. She isn't hugely strong, so that effect isn't as major as it can be later on. So their mid-game team fights are not as strong as Copenhagen Wolves, so maybe the fact they're coming out almost, roughly equal in 2-on-2s now is actually a good sign for STO, because in the future they will end up coming out ahead.
And it seems like Yuki's trying to bypass that mid-game lull and his damage that he has with that Infinity Edge. You typically don't see a lot of AD carries ever rush that item. Usually it's that Bloodthirst that they want to build up.
Yeah, it's pretty much Ashe syndrome, where you think, well, I'm just going to build for the late game because I'm not that relevant right now. Ziggs actually going for this blue buff, but not able to steal that away with his ultimate. I would say that that is actually probably a very smart decision, because if you're thinking about it in terms of Yuki may not actually be planning on surviving quite a lot of the team fights when they happen. Sustain, stuff like Bloodthirst the First, not that relevant.
Right now, we do have a nice little bit of a 2-0-1 scoreline for Gob here in that top side. He's actually sitting on 171 CS. He's actually out CSing Youngbuck currently. And we all know how annoying a Shyvana can be, especially when we do have a little bit of a speed increase that the Talisman will be able to give you a little bit later on. Speaking of that, we actually see Kuja not going for an early investment into that. He went for a very early Mikhail's Crucible.
And Mikhail's Crucible is a very, very strong item. It gives them that potential to dive into the middle with Shyvana, even though she's going to be probably the sole diver, per se. I mean, Yorick will attempt to dive and be Yorick, so he'll kind of just walk at them. He'll amble. He will amble into the middle of the enemy team. And yes, that's nice. That is a relevant threat. You can't ignore Yorick at this stage of the game, but they need Shyvana to be the one who's really getting in there in the back line and not getting locked down. Actually, looks like Copenhagen Wolves are going to go for the Dragon here. I don't think they're going to have it as easily this time.
Yeah, it seems like Gob was a little bit smarter this time. Has come down for this one. Youngbuck's still over towards that top side, and maybe STO might be able to take this quick enough before he can even be in the middle of this fight. He actually is spotted by wards, so they know exactly where it is. It looks like they want to rush this one down, but amazing, he's on the other side. The ultimate as Ziggs comes out, but it doesn't matter. He's smite away from Airwax as a Stricken Thorn perfectly well placed. Knocks up 3 members of STO. See Smalltex knock away a couple of members of Copenhagen Wolves back out of the fight, but it doesn't matter. They get 1 kill off as they get the Dragon out. Youngbuck coming in with the flash, with the Dominus looking for a kill. Gets one on the Airwax. He's taking a lot of damage, but still, he is surviving quite well here. Yuki with that red buff chasing him down with that Infinity Edge. Gonna pick up one here. And Airwax with the ultimate onto himself, looking for a kill, as he does actually get the ace in the hole onto Forgiven. But it's just not enough. His ultimate does wear out. So in the mess of all that, a 1-for-2 happens in favor of STO, and they get Dragon on top of that.
So actually coming out ahead in these team fights, that was good map positioning by them. They were in the right place at the right time. And they are actually starting to build a lead for themselves against Copenhagen Wolves, who are, as we've mentioned multiple times, generally considered the strongest.
Yeah, they easily are the favorites for this whole 3 days of action. And right now, we have a lot of gold to spend over on STO's side. 2,200 on Yuki, 2,000 on Spontex. That's going to get very dangerous in that mid-game lull of damage that Yuki or Caitlyn usually would fall into. Let's listen to this for Joe.
Oh, he loves the recall animations.
But the mid-game lull that a Caitlyn will have seems to be bypassed almost at this point when a Phantom Dancer's almost in the midst of him.
Yeah, that's starting to get really scary for Copenhagen Wolves. That last fight actually wasn't bad by them. they were out map position, so they were 4v5 at the start, and Youngbuck diving in at the end was kind of maybe a bit questionable. But the fact that that team fight went so poorly, even though Zyra got like a 4-man ultimate on everyone in the pit, that's telling of how much difficulty they may have as time goes by. They are still taking great advantage of Ziggs, though, in stymieing split pushing.
He's trying to make something happen off of that. So you see Ace in the hole, gonna hit Unlimited. He's just gonna heal that one right back up with that little bit of a biscuit he's got going on. Right now, STO, they have the lead, like you said earlier, for the first time this game. And it's their lead to kind of lose at this point, since they have that Caitlyn who is just getting stronger and stronger as time does go on. And Youngbuck, he's building that standard Sunfire Cape, Spirit Visage kind of build. But right now, Spontex going, I think, a little bit more of a smarter build this time. He hasn't went for the Merc Tread, or not the Merc Tread, sorry, the Sorcerer's Boots, but he does have a lot of burst with that Death Pump done now.
Yeah, indeed. If we get into kind of endgame fantasy situation, if, you know, building endgame fantasies here, if that happens, Shyvana is going to be more relevant than Renekton. She's going to have more damage. She is a bruiser, and that means you build Sunfire Cape and Spirit Visage on her, but she will have more damage built into her kit. She doesn't need the gap closing that Renekton has, because she's just going to be running into the middle of them, and they've got a decent amount of, well, I hesitate to say peel from Yorick, but resurrection, having failed to peel, is more how it works. So this is actually starting to look really, not bad per se, but alarming for Copenhagen Wolves.
Yeah, STO, I mean, if you even add in the Blade of the Rune King that looks like Gob is going to be going for here, the chase potential of him versus Youngbuck on AD carries is unmatched. It's completely outclassed over on STO's, or they're completely outclassed them over on STO's side. Taking a look at items real quick, is there anything that kind of stands out for you? We saw Airwax a little bit earlier on, you know, he's going for the phage that we saw, but he hasn't really been able to build anything else besides that just yet.
Yeah, if you are Yorick and you're not doing too brilliantly, and you're just going to be relying on your utility anyway, in the end, it seems like he's opting to just build utility tank, as it were. He's building Aegis of the Legion right now. He's just looking to make sure the important members of his team don't die too easily. And simultaneously, that he isn't completely burstable. Because if he gets bursted down before he used his ult, he's forced to use it on himself, which, especially if he is he's built relatively tanky, that makes him completely worthless. So, it's understandable that he's going for that, but it does mean that he is going to be almost completely ignorable.
Gotta do it every time. Gotta do it. It's an awesome back animation right now. Gob looking for that top turret. He's been applying pressure this entire time, and what he's been doing is he hits the turret as much as possible, shoves the wave. Then he's been actually taking double golems as much as possible, which it looks like he might be even going for here in a second. And then going back to lane, and he's been winning the Pharma war so far right now. He does have that Blade of the Rune King now done, and you see the damage he can do to Youngbuck here momentarily, and also look at that level advantage that he does have too.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before, but it's starting to look scary for Copenhagen Wolves. They will always have an answer to this kind of pressure that Gob can exert, just based on Ziggs and potentially on catching him. Amazing is actually heading up to top lane right now, but he can't 1v1 anymore, and that's a bad sign.
And it's really hard to catch a dragon that has his ultimate available, not to mention that Blade of the Rune King, so he can even save his ultimate on top of that. But it lures Amazing away, and from that, it looks like STR are going for a push on the middle. We saw Copenhagen Wolves do this so well against TCM Wolves earlier. Kautar gonna get blown up, and now Sponte's ultimate gonna be used onto him from Airwax, so he's gonna have that resurrection in just a second. He has the barrels, he has the damage, but even Kuja flashing in doesn't hit the stun. Actually, wasn't even in range to do it as Unlimited. It looks like he might go down with the ace in the hole in the backside. He is now gone. And just like that, what Copenhagen Wolves did so well earlier on against TCM gets used against them.
They are really, really starting to abuse that map pressure advantage that they built up. And that's a really, really alarming sign. Again, Copenhagen Wolves, they are the team. They are the team to beat. And at the moment, STO is definitely beating them. That is a really alarming sign for them at the moment. Youngbuck, what can he do?
Oh, not when this fight is just seeing all those health bars right now. And STO, they get the top turret. And they get some damage onto that middle turret, and they just back away. So they're taking a little bit of a lead that they were able to pull off and just back away with it. But as you can see on the gold so far, 100 gold lead. Not that big, 26 minutes in.
No, it isn't, but the flow of those fights, I mean, that last fight, for instance, that was a really good usage of Yorick ultimate there. I mean, Copenhagen Wolves are now going to go for that dragon, and it looks like they're going to be able to just take that. but it was a really nice use of the Yorick ultimate because Gragas went in essentially on a 2-4 almost, but he was able to burst, then use Yorick ultimate to get another couple of rotations off and tank a whole lot of damage because Gragas is a relatively tanky AP mid-mage.
Oh, and STO looks like they were trying to make a fight happen here. We do have Gob coming down. He's going to catch Coutard here. He does have that bit of the Rune King up. He actually uses it onto him. He's going straight for the dive here, and he's so tanky, he can probably make this one work for him. Doesn't have a lot of magic resist, but the flash is able to finish him off, and just that they pick up another kill. We see Amazing going straight in on the Airwatch here. He's most likely going to go down here, but Yuki is just attacking away. He's not being hit. He's not being molested at all, as you said yesterday. In the entirety of this fight, Unlimited going to go down as well, and a double kill comes in for STO.
Unfortunate implications of what you just said, but Airwax has now gone down. They're going to continue this push. There is no reason for STO to stop going. Lucian, very, very dangerous. He has managed to farm himself up quite a bit now, but STO, they are the ones who are getting the map pressure advantage that will last now. If they can get this in here without getting bursted out.
Oh, Kuja, he has the stun available. He's going to land it onto Amazing. Looks like he might be able to escape with the Mikhail's Crucible right there. And Yuki going head-to-head against Forgiven here, but the burst damage out of Lucian is just too much for him to handle. He gets taken down. And Spontex, they're so low for him. His ultimate not up just yet. He could make a kill happen. Is Kuja going to go down? But here comes Gob in from the side looking for killing Amazing. They pick that one up. In the end, I don't even, that was like a 2 for 4, I think? 2 for 4? Yeah, I'm going to go 2 for 4.
I'm just going to out and say it. I don't care, because right now, STO are the ones taking map pressure, and it's not kills that win games. Yes, they do build advantage. Yes, they do snowball. But it's towers and map pressure that wins game. And that inhib now being exposed, STO actually got a little bit greedy. I kind of understand, because I kind of thought they might be able to get it as well. They did overstay, and are they going to? No, they're not going to do that. Okay, right. I was thinking I was just going to have my mind blown, but that means that STO are once again in control of the flow of the game. However, there is another note to make here. Copenhagen Wolves have always been a very strong team fighting team. Even if the composition doesn't necessarily favor them, never count them out.
Right now, speaking of those last bit of fights that we had break out, a 3-0-6 Shyvana in the hands of Gob, a 1-5-8 Jungle Yorick in the hands of Airwax. I'm going to keep saying it like that. A 4-2-6 Spontex, a 5-1-1 Caitlyn in the hands of Yuki, and a 0-1-8 Kuja, who even built a Haunting Guise, and it looks like he wants to make that Leandries happen?
Most likely. That is, I mean, Haunting Guise with an Amplifying Tome is pretty much, I'm building a Leandries Torment, and it works very, very well on Zyra. Her plants apply the passive, and because...
But it's not Zyra, it's Annie.
Wait, I'm blind, aren't I? Oh,
that's why I was like,
yeah.
Leandries?
You're right. It still makes sense generally on supports to go at least Haunting Guise, just based on the fact compared to mid-mages, they tend to get more levels and less gold, even with the changes. So magic penetration becomes more valuable as your base values on your abilities go up. Base values go up with levels. More levels means less comparative value to AP. So understandable to go for that. And she is at kind of item slot capped, so it might go into something else. But who knows? Leandris is still relatively strong.
Oh, God, pulling 2 people away towards his top side. Actually 3, because Coutard is on his way here too, but just not enough. Yeah, not enough to be able to kill him yet. But unfortunately for STO, they weren't in a position to take advantage of that, to push middle, to push bottom. And right now they're just clearing out these waves, trying to push and shove every lane that they possibly can in.
Yeah, the STO aren't feeling like they want to head-to-head Copenhagen Wolves and go for that middle inhib. Understandable, because the gold is still incredibly close between the two teams. So they're just going to carry on doing what they have been doing, looking for the map rotation advantage. As time goes by, they could be favored by that.
This is kind of interesting to see out of Kuja on his build. He went for Distortion enchant boots over building the Talisman for the speed increase for his whole team. So he wants, it seems, the extra cooldown reduction on his flash, so he can obviously get some more flash engages going on.
That is a very, very good point. He's gone for the mobility boots as well, so not looking for extra damage. He's looking to be the initiator when he needs to be. The other fact about that, though, is that their team do have several sources of initiation. They can start off fights with Swantex, they can start off fights with Kuja, or even potentially Gob.
Oh, Gob pulling 2 people away again. Amazing, trying to just jungle, and Gob's not really letting that one happen. But in the meantime, we do see Yuki getting very low in this 1v1 against Forgiven, and the Coley comes out. I think that's the first time I've ever seen it pick up a kill right there, as he was able to pull him down. But now Kuja going head-to-head against Forgiven, with Spontex even coming from the side, and look at the damage he's just able to do. He gets ulted away by Spontex here. He doesn't have anyone to back him up, but with that Bloodthirst, he's trying to heal it all up. Currently, And the rest of Copenhagen Wolves not in a position to really make use out of this just yet, but Forgiven still being chased down by Spontex. Going to actually die eventually. And a 1 for 2 in the end right there.
The Flabby Man hitbox there taking another life. That was very nice usage by Forgiven, just knowing that in spite of the difference in goal between them, he is definitely able to duel much more effectively than Caitlyn, just because Lucian. And actually the culling is less poorly rated than it used to be, by the way. It's now kind of considered to be a good chasing tool, which is exactly what he used it for, but it looks like there could be a fight mid.
Yeah, Bucky's looking for a fight here, but he's taken so low with the help of Spontex right there. Zyro ulti gonna come out as well as Zeke's ulti, so he gets some good damage. Spontex getting ulted down by Mason. You see the flash come in from Youngblood, trying to lock him down. His counter and coming from the backside. Picks up the kill right there, and now Amazing getting very low. He's forced to flash out, and Spontex with that Gragas ultimate on top of him, looking for a kill here. The barrel, unfortunately, gonna miss, but Gob, he is a chasing machine. He eventually gives up. He eventually retreats. And Copenhagen Wolves taking advantage right there with Youngblood absorbing so much damage in the middle of that fight to pick up 1 kill.
STO getting a little bit hasty now. They may actually just straight up be not choking, but just being like, I almost didn't expect us to do this well. So at this point, it's looking like Copenhagen Wolves are starting to get a couple of these fights going their way.
And Draven.
Oh, Draven.
But with that pick we're going down, Copenhagen Wolves looking for a Baron here. Kuja has his Timbers almost up in just a second, but wasn't in a position for that as Kautar and Forgive are able to take him down in a 2v1. And now Gob trying to come from the side, looking for potentially a Baron still here. Let's look at the Baron health. Sitting at 4,000 HP. The rest of STO coming in from the south side right now, but with the Baron going down in just a second here, STO not able to stop this one. And Youngbuck, he's not giving up. He's looking for a kill, and he has his team behind him if they want to continue pushing.
And suddenly Copenhagen Wolves have taken a big bite out of the momentum STO had managed to build. They are doing that chaining of effective objective takes right there. They were able to push them back because STO got a little bit too hasty in the fight. Then they made a really good Baron pull. They picked that up. Now they're going for the tower. STO need to kind of pull back, maybe sacrifice this tower and group up again because they can't afford to dive in and lose 1 more man.
Gob, he wants to defend this here, but the turret is just falling too quickly. And we see Amazing actually engage on a Spontex. He's in a really rough position. The Bison doesn't get him away, but the Gragas ultimate applies a lot of damage as you see Gob using his ultimate to run, but Youngblood's still in the forefront of this fight, looking for a kill, looking for a stun, but he's almost taken down by Yuki. He eventually falls by Spontex, and you see that York ultimate in the onto Gob right there. He did not drop. He was able to survive, and STO able to pick up 1 kill against a Baroned up Copenhagen Wolves.
Yeah, they still are definitely in it, and now they've obviously been able to get themselves back together because basically that was a string of single people getting picked off, and I thought for a second Gob was going to get picked off himself there. And even that fight actually for STO, Annie was a little bit late into the fight due to being not there at the start of it, not alive, I think, at the
being killed over towards Baron.
Yeah, so it was... If Copenhagen Wolves need to keep this up, they need to keep splitting STO up, and conversely, if STO can make sure they're in the right place at the right time without getting out-rotated now, their composition will carry them through these team fights.
Now, what really happened, though? Like, what STO, they had control of the game. They got the inhibitor turret down, they had the inhibitor open, they got a little bit cocky and got engaged on, but just within the last 5 minutes alone, they keep getting caught, they're losing every fight.
Well, again, it is catches. That is always the thing. If you lose a man, you put yourself in a 4v5. I mean, Copenhagen Wolves did a very good job of not only taking a single person, but then engaging and pushing them back as well, and forcing them to recall, leading into the Baron, leading into the push, which then actually their team fight didn't go quite as well as it might have done. But it's essentially just Copenhagen Wolves being Copenhagen Wolves. They're doing what they do best, which is pushing and taking advantages. But there is always that consideration at this stage. STO might just be able to make this fight go in their favor. Smiting mechanics there. Very nice usage.
We do have all 5 members here of STO finally grouped up for a fight here, but against the Baron up Copenhagen Wolves, I'm not sure if that's the fight they want to make happen. They do have that flash Tibbers out of Kuja if they do get a perfect engage. Is the Ho going to come out? Get blocked by Amazing though. And you can see STO, they're trying to respond, they're trying to clear all this vision, trying to open up a possibility of maybe a fight. But this can be the point of the game where if you lose a team fight here, you can lose the game.
Yeah, and Copenhagen Wolves' siege right now is really strong. STO don't want to engage because there's Baron. But if they don't engage, they're going to lose more objectives. They're going to cede map pressure. They're going to cede gold. And Copenhagen Wolves making the executive decision to take all of the Caitlyn traps there, which is, it makes a lot of sense because they knew they weren't going to get punished for it. So I feel like STO actually should just hang it and go for the Flash Tibbers engage in spite of the Baron. I'm obviously not a player of these guys' level, but that's honestly my instinct at this point.
Looks like they wanted to hold on to potentially this last inner turret, as they have lost the top and middle in this span of the Baron. A lot of gold to spend on both sides, actually. We see Forgiven with 1700. You look on Gob side, 2k. Even Spontex sitting on about 1800 at this point. Luckily for STO, they do have decent wave clear with this Caitlyn, with this Gragas, but Copenhagen Wolves with the Ziggs, with the Trinity Force on Forgiven, they can take this turret down very fast, and you've already seen it. Just a couple of hits here and there, already taking it down to about half-life.
Yeah, STO are in a bad situation now because they are getting poked down. If they sacrifice this tower as well, the goal difference and the map pressure means that Copenhagen Wolves will have a very good chance of just being able to push things down and get things rolling even further in their favor. They are going to recall, spend their money, and get themselves built up, but STO don't want to be caught in that situation again. If they start getting poked down and forced to kind of rotate one at a time, get poked down, run away from the tower, get poked down, recall, and then go back again, that doesn't favor them. They need the hard engage, the big fight, and they don't want to risk getting too badly ruined by Unlimited if that happens.
And we see it. A couple of interesting items coming in here. The Glacial Shroud picked up for Airwax, so it looks like he's going for the Iceborne Gauntlets. And Spontex, who has been the man that's been engaged upon pretty much the last 3 fights in a row, built a Rod of Ages.
That is true. I had not noticed that. Good eye, Jason. Rod of Ages on Gragas is something which we haven't seen in a long, long time, and it's traditionally associated with the bad Gragases. But, as you say, because he is the target of these engages, because he wants to be tankier, and because, in fact, that the health will give him for extra usage out of the Yorick ultimate, it's actually not a bad pickup. It also means that he effectively has unlimited mana for spamming.
Just have that Void Staff stacked on top of it. We did have Yuki actually pick up a pickaxe about 5 to 7 minutes ago. Has now sold it though for the BF sword, so it looks like he wanted the damage now. It seemed like he realized we're starting to lose these fights. We're starting to lose the game here. We need to take control back somehow, but even with the help of that, it just wasn't enough. Now Copenhagen Wolves going to be going for an invade here, trying to take away everything they possibly can out of the jungle. But it looks like it's going to come down to that Baron in a minute.
Yeah, and you can actually parallel STO starting to lose control of the game with Caitlyn falling behind Forgiven, because Forgiven now has a significant item advantage. Forgiven. So that is really starting to look awkward for them. And the other thing I think that's starting to hamper STO here is that if they push with Shyvana, she's not as unkillable as she was proportionally. Damage is scaling up to get really, really high. Amazing. Looking for the engage, but I don't think he can get the distance.
Talisman was popped there to give that little bit of a speed increase and maybe get that engage on the Yugi that they were looking for. Right now, all STO can really do is wave clear. Gob's still pushing that bottom lane. If anything, with that Baron coming up, maybe he can go for the middle inhibitor and maybe pull someone away out of STO, or at least get that down and give them some sort of advantage coming into this, but he is still pushing away at this bottom turret. Hasn't dropped too much health just yet, as you see him maybe warding up just to give him that vision. But the rest of Copenhagen Wolves, they can catch STO off guard here. Actually, all 5 members of STO are rotating down to this bottom turret.
It's a cat and mouse game at the moment, though, because if Copenhagen Wolves had gone for the Baron there, the STO would have said, fine, you can have the Baron, we'll have your inhibitor, right? So, that actually meant that Copenhagen Wolves could not go for the Baron, but that meant that Gob, who had spent all that time pushing down the tower, was able to start just freely taking towers. Copenhagen Wolves didn't want to get too aggressive about moving in, because obviously engaging in this situation would be difficult for them. That has meant that STO have taken another couple of advantages, but that means that Gob needs to get to that split pushing stage again to force Copenhagen Wolves into that kind of a situation again. But if they get caught, that could be really, really bad.
This would be very dangerous. Airwax not going to get ulted on by Amazing since he does have that backup. But look at the position. Yuki in a bad spot as well. Spontex and Copenhagen Wolves, they're going to just push down middle. They're going to completely take advantage of the positioning that they're able to pull off here. And you see the Colin use not really going to do too much, but does zone them away. They're looking for some damage onto this turret.
Yeah, it was hopefully looking for poke there, I think. But now it feels like Copenhagen Wolves are feeling a little bit scared. They know Unlimited is a little bit low, and they don't want to risk getting engaged upon. But the split push from Shyvana, that is what it opens them up to once again. If Copenhagen Wolves aren't able to make the engage happen, it's very dicey at the moment, though, because if STO even once get caught out 4v5, that could be game.
We still see some items being completed here. Didn't see the Iceberg Gauntlets come out of Airwax. He went for the Frozen Heart. And we still see Gob. He hasn't really picked up an item recently. He did go for Spirit Visage, so he has that extra regen. As you do see him pop his ultimate, trying to catch someone off guard is amazing. Forced to flash away, but now Gob taking a lot of damage. He's being forced to just retreat as Amazing can kind of make the re-engage happen with the ultimate. He does use it on the Spontex here as the rest of the team. Yoba flashing in, doing a lot of damage with just his AoE and his Dominus. And Forgiven not really in the spot to help us out. And now Copenhagen Wolves, they're the ones retreating. They're the ones running with their tail between their legs. As Gob getting ulted by York, but he didn't die yet, so he's still alive. And just like that, both teams gonna back away from this. The tankiest members of both teams being taken to the brink of death.
Yeah, and on that day, nobody died. But that definitely shows how close these teams still are. The fact that Shyvana keeps surviving in spite of the fact she's been Yorick ulted is most likely just due to the fact Copenhagen Wolves don't want to proc the Yorick ult. It's the Zillion principle, where you can wait out his mark. But that's like 7 seconds of invulnerability. That's ridiculous if you're a bruiser trying to dive into the back line. It doesn't last as long, obviously. Yorick's Ghoulie Ghost thing, I cannot remember the name of it right now, but it's just so dicey for both teams.
Right now, we actually see Baron start off here, but there is a ward in the back of that pit, so Copenhagen Wolves, they know this is going on. Youngblood not in a position to help out. Cowtarge maybe ult into this, and I don't think they can get this down that quick. It still has a lot of help. Unlimited flashing away from the Gragas barrel. Spontex threw at him, able to survive, as you see on the bottom of the screen. Colin coming out, getting Kuja very low, and Copenhagen Wolves forcing STO back off of that Baron, and they have two members that need to go back and heal, and that allows Copenhagen Wolves to just push down middle.
Neither side wants to dive into the other one, though, so unless Copenhagen Wolves can get a pick now or get a little bit of a time advantage here, they're not going to be able to make anything happen from it, and this keeps happening. Both of the teams are playing that cat and mouse positioning game where neither side wants to be the one to initiate because they just don't have the means to make it happen and work in their favor.
Right now, we do see Kuja invest into a chain mail. Chain vest. Once the armor. Copenhagen Wolves going for Baron here, and it's going to be dropping very quickly. Already down to 2,000 life. It's going to drop before anyone at STO even has an idea it's happening. Right now, Kuja in a bad spot as well as the rest of STO. As the ultimate come out, the Spontex yet again. They're looking to burst him down as the Ziggs ultimate comes and hits nothing, but Spontex doing some good damage right there. And Youngblood in the middle of the team. That's exactly where he wanted to be, but now very low life, forced to back out. And Yuki getting dropped very low, but he did have the Yorick ultimate, so he's going to be able to revive yet again here. But it doesn't matter. He gets taken down as quick as he did the first time. And with Amazing dropping on the Copenhagen Wolves side, we see two people go down for STO, and Spontex, he potentially could stop the siege with a couple of good barrels.
Potentially could, but there is always that potential to dive him. Youngblood would happily sacrifice his life, and Forgiven does so much damage right now. That fight, though, nice catch from Amazing, and a brilliant Baron take by Copenhagen Wolves.
Youngblood, he's just trying to zone them away here as that turret going to be dropped out right now. Is Forgiven getting caught in a Caitlyn trap as Gob looking for him here, but he gets stunned up by Youngblood, forced to run away. And now we're left at a very symmetrical position between both these teams, having that middle inhibitor available.
But Copenhagen Wolves, they have the Baron buff. They have the near 10,000 gold advantage, although we are reaching the stage of the game where full item builds and hence gold irrelevance is starting to come into effect. There's definitely an edge for Copenhagen Wolves, and it seems to me like they have been getting the better of those tiny map rotation differences still.
Not to mention they took the Baron down in about 4 seconds flat.
I mean, I say tiny differences. That was essentially one of those map rotation differences. They knew how fast they could do that so effectively there. And that meant that they were able to just do the Baron and ignore the threat from their opponents. Actually, Gob needs to be careful, but he is still Shyvana.
He does have that ultimate available if he was want to run away on top of that. Random Zoman coming up in just a second here, but with that Baron buff, with that inhibitor being open, this might have been the straw that broke the camel's back for STO. This might give them the positional advantage they want to make that inhibitor finally drop, and amazing. He's been diving in straight on a Spontex every single time, not going for Yuki, who obviously you're a Kate and you're very far away. It's really hard to get to him. But he's been trying to lock him down, and they're eyeing this inhibitor. They want to make it happen.
Yeah, they now have the Baron buff, and they know that if they're able to force STO to either engage or just sit there and take the poke, then they're going to fall behind. So this could be the last chance Salade.
Goff going straight in, getting blown up right away. He's going to drop here. Actually, he is your ultimate, so he'll get right back up in just a second here. But look at the rest of the STO. They are following Youngbug and Amazing in the front line. Youngbug is just not dying. Yuki cannot kill him here. He isn't even doing like any damage, it feels like. He's being chased out as Kautar gets the kill into him, but Kautar very low in health. And this might be the game.
That surely will be it. Indeed, Copenhagen will just, wow, where did that barrel? Oh, Spontex off screen. Okay. Don't think it matters though. They are really unfortunate there for STO. Not